Hey, my name is Nate, aka Bucky McBadbad of Team Burner Out, and I'm going to give you a deck profile on my Wydar Sarkal deck, a deck that a lot of people ask for, but not too many people actually build. And I'm just basically going to give you my intake on, Wydar Sarkal with the new Impact monster we just got from Buddy Rave. My buddy is Twilight Dawn. If people don't know what it is, he's a 4/1 one. Is it size 0 monster? At any point you take damage, you will gain 1 and deal 1 back to your opponent. You can the ability only activates once per turn. It's a very great way to mitigate damage and often becomes an attack target. Basically a shield, because most of the time your opponent's going to find a way to get rid of this before they start swinging on you, as they don't want basically their attack to be weakened, or they don't want to take damage, especially if you're doing damage back to your opponent. All right, so let's start with the deck. We play 4 copies of the buddy. Again, this is one of the better cards for the deck. It's also one of the main attacking units, as Wydar Sarkal has very low stats usually across the board. And I think that's one of the main problems with it. We have size 2 monsters in Wydar Sarkal, but they're all, again, within like the 5k attack range. There are a few exceptions, but none of them that really pop or spark. Most of the notable Wydars that you can choose are, again, they're just very lackluster. They just doesn't pop. We run 1 inverse Omni Lord, Deathmodai. The reason why we play Deathmodai is there are a lot of monsters in the deck that have call costs, and which we'll go through momentarily. But basically, the deck is very monster heavy, and with the new impact, putting it on the field is fine, but you don't want to have to pay the cost. It's a 2 gauge, and the deck doesn't really have a big gauge issue, but most of your better cards require at least 2 gauge to play, so this helps, deal damage, wall, and mitigate. And with Count Dawn, if you happen to have him on the field when he is destroyed, you can reduce its lifelink by 1, deal 1 back to your opponent, basically, making it a little bit better. Another monster that runs very well with Count Dawn is 5th Omni Blade Dragonlord, Jackknife Emperor. This is one of my favorite cards. Again, it's not Wydar, but again, in the deck, it's a very strong size 2 option, because like I said, there aren't that many great Wydars, and with Count Dawn and the equipment that I plan on playing, it really just basically makes this effect free. I get to destroy a card on my opponent's field and inflict the damage back to you, the opponent, which I've done numerous times. I've also done Double Dawn Jack, and it really leaves your opponent off for words. This card is really good in the deck. Next, we're moving on to 4. For Elizabeth, basically when this card comes into play, you can choose any Wydar Sarkal monster currently on the field, send it to the drop zone to call a size 1 or less Wydar Sarkal from the drop zone. You do have to pay its call cost. Most of the time, I use her to send herself or regular Dawn. Like, I'll either replace Dawn with Twilight Dawn, or I'll send herself to get either the Succubus or Sylph. And the reason I do this is because basically her stats is 3-1. The other Sylph also has 2 crit, but it has more attack, and she's like, it's literally like playing 8 copies of either person that I want to get. Like, she really is just a spot remover. And again, bringing out Twilight Dawn is, most people often attack it first, so it's really like a shield. So replacing regular Dawn with that often itself while keeping her on the board is really good. Again, people tend to just go after Dawn, so keep bringing it back as much as you can. For Succubus. Succubus is basically Wydar's Electro Ninja Shiden. You can discard a Wydar and pay 1 gauge. If you do, draw 2 cards. You can only use the effect once per turn. Not much to say about the card. The stats are very unimpressive. 3/1/2. It dies fairly easily. Again, another attack target because people don't want you doing it multiple times. The best part about Wydars is its equipments and its spells also have the Wydar attribute. So if at any point you decide, you know what, I can't pay this call cost, or it's just dead in my hand, you can fish it away for 2 more cards. This card is very useful if you're playing Wydar and not playing 4 of it. I'm not saying you're doing it wrong. You're definitely doing it interesting though. For Great Wind Sylph, this could easily be the buddy, but I like Dawn better. Pay 1 gauge and pay 1 life. The life part about this card is the most important part of this. And I say the reason why is because you want to get to 6. The deck's main win engine is the fact that you can give all your Wydars the ability to double attack. So you want to get to 6 as quickly as possible, but you want to be able to do it on your own terms. So that's what makes this card really good. Now, when she comes into play, you can choose to call any Wydar from your drop or equip. At both points, you have to pay the call cost. Again, her call is 1 gauge, 1 life. Again, Elizabeth, she's usually my Elizabeth target because I just want to get her out. So this way, when she hits the field, I can then call the next card, which is 3 copies of DAWG. Real name, King of Forests, Zlatorog. Honestly, I always call it DAWG. I don't know what it is. I like it, but DAWG. When this card enters the field, put 2 cards to the top from the top of your deck into the gauge. This is the main gauge card, and basically it just if you use it in combination with this, it only pluses you 1. But again, to keep coming back and keep giving, it's better than the size 1 that only gives you 1 gauge because then you equalize. You don't plus anything. So this card really helps moderate gauge, and when you play it from the hand, you obviously get 2. And then if it dies, you keep bringing it back. Again, I would play at 4, but I do not own 4 copies, and I'm in no rush to get another one. 2 count Dawn. You can't always have Twilight, and it's sad, but you still want to have that consistent spot remover. So he's there just in case. And then he's also a great discard target with Succubus because, I mean, hey, once Dawn hit the graveyard, he becomes alive. Alright. Almost into the monsters, but we'll keep going. 4 copies of the Magical Sword, Azoth. This card is, again, most people just use the wand, or I should say the staff. The staff gives you a gauge when you tap it. I like this card better because you're so pinched for life. Like, you're pinched for life, you're pinched for damage. You do not want to take more than you can, especially because you play a closed center deck. Wydars is a very close center deck. It has shields, but again, its shields are shields aren't that great. They're good. They're just not that great. And because you play close center, you don't want to be, you don't want to take too much extra damage with penetrate if your opponent decides they want to do that, even though you have this as a deterrent and you have Dawn as a deterrent. And remember when I told you this card reduces all damage. So again, with Jackknife and Dawn on the field, you don't necessarily need 2 Dawns. You only need 1 in this, and basically you're just blowing up for free. Honestly, I wish that the Omni Lord thing, like, I just this with Jack is just, it's too good. And it can swing if you have a Wydar in the center, meaning you could put that there, put Jack to the right, put Dawn in front. It doesn't matter. Usually a Wydar is always in the center, so this way this can swing. And again, it's petty damage. It's only 1. This is also spot remover because there's a lot of monsters with 1,000, and you just don't want to see them. Like, 1 critical cards, we technically never really go for life with them. They're always used to just attack monsters, and a lot of monsters do have 1,000 defense. So, again, it's spot remover, but if the center is open, why not? It's 1 damage. Take it. For shields, for Scorn of Gremlin, honestly, it's a good shield, and it has Wydar in the name. If you know your opponent is going for big plays or link attacking, again, you can always pitch it from your hand. More than likely, you're not going to, but again, it's an option. You never know. Again, it's an open center deck, so, I mean, it's a closed center deck, so, but they do get, again, Wydars have very low stats. The stats are not appealing. They're always going to get through. That's why when they created the the spell card Wydar Sarkal, like, I literally laughed, like, nobody's going to counterattack. Everybody's beating it. There's no point to that card. So, for these, because your center will get blown open very often. Now, the heart of the entire deck is right here. Decree of Dullahan. When your life points is 6 or less, pay 3 gauge. For this turn, all Wydar Sarkal monsters in the field get double attack. Very good card. Literally the only win condition of the deck usually. If you're just beating your opponent and you didn't play this card and they lose, then they probably just had a very rough day. I'm going to move on. Everybody knows what this card does. You have to play it in Wydar. The next 3 of the draw cards. 6 or less life, you get to pay 1 gauge, draw 2. In this deck, we'll never get the free option, so I'm not even going to explain it. Most people already know what it does anyway. And we're running close. I want to keep this under 13 minutes if possible. 2, Oswira Gard. Again, it's a closed center deck, but there's sometimes you just need Oswira Gard. Send a monster to the drop, charge and draw. Everybody knows what it does. 2, Ways of the Trolls. It's spell null, and I like this in Wydar because, again, it's Wydar attribute. I can pitch it to draw 2 if I need to. You can't use it on your turn. That's what people don't like about it. You cannot use it on your turn. You have to use it on your opponents. But I like the fact that I can potentially negate size 3s, especially impact monsters like Abigail's like this. People get upset when you know you troll them, obviously. So moving on. 2, Power of Mythology. The reason I play Power of Mythology is again the stats are really low. I hardly ever use this to negate an attack. I hardly ever use it to penetrate. But when I swing on somebody and they play a card that basically is counterattack, I'm like, no, I'm gonna gain 5, and everybody's gonna gain 5. And this is really good. Again, I'm not going to say I never use it to penetrate for game. I'm not going to say I never use it for to nullify an attack. But that's not technically why I play it. I play it because people play counter spells. And the last card of the deck, the big addition, Sylph Fairies Banquet, or Sylph Fairies Banquet. Impact monster size 1, 5/2/4. Pay 2 gauge and put a Wydar Sarkal or fairy monster from your field into the drop zone. When this card enters the field during the final phase, stand all Wydar Sarkal and fairy monsters on your field. For this turn, all Wydar Sarkal and fairy monsters on the field can attack during the final phase. Usually, this is only 3 damage. I like it. The reason I don't max it, I mean, it's usually 3 to 5. Normally, I have Jack in play because once Jack hit, I usually I refuse to let him die. I don't want Jack to die ever. So I go out my way to save Jack. But again, the reason that's why I usually say he's only 3 damage. But most of the time, this will hit a lot, especially after you play Decree, swing, double attack, all that jazz. And then you call this out and you get another attack steps. And the reason I only play 3 is because it's useless outside of the final phase. I want to see it, but you can't do it. So that's the Wydar deck. Hopefully I can get some gameplays. Thank you for watching, and have you met my burner.